Hi there! Emily Midget here today with a video for Ellen Hudson featuring the new Inner Mermaid stamp set from the Magical Summer release. I love all watercoloring mediums, and while I generally tend to stick to my more traditional watercolors, every once in a while I think it's fun to mix it up with something new. Enter Spectrum Noir Sparkle pens. These pens have a brush tip similar to the Zig markers, but they're filled with a colorful, sparkly fluid that adds a massive amount of shimmer and sparkle to your project. I use these frequently as accents to my projects, but today I thought they'd work perfectly as the star of the show, combined with the new Inner Mermaid stamps from Ellen Hudson. I began by silver heat embossing the tail image and several seashells from the Inner Mermaid stamp set onto some Arches cold press watercolor paper. I then laid down a small amount of amethyst and cosmos sparkle pens along the edge of the mermaid tail, then blended them using the clear Spectrum Noir pen. The clear pen acts as your wet paintbrush when using your Zig or Distress markers, but with the added bonus of adding a ton of shimmery goodness to your project. You'll notice that I'm dabbing the tip of my clear sparkle pen onto my stamp chamois. This helps to remove some of the color that is being sucked onto the brush's bristles so that I can get a nice clean blend with lots of contrast. You can also use these Spectrum Noir Sparkle pens with your water-based markers. Here, I've added some teal Zig marker to the bottom of my mermaid tail's fins, then blended the teal out with a bit more cosmos, finally using the clear Spectrum Noir Sparkle marker as my blender instead of a damp paintbrush. I continued wiping the excess color onto my damp stamp chamois so that I could create a feeling of translucence on the mermaid's fins. I repeated the process of combining colored sparkle pens and Zig markers on the seashells and starfish from the Inner Mermaid set. After I had colored all of the mermaid elements using the sparkle markers, I began working on the backdrop for my sparkly mermaid. I started by creating a shaker panel, die cutting a circle from some aqua cardstock using Hero Art's Circle Infinity dies, then backed it with some acetate. I used the opening in the shaker front to determine my placement for my sentiment in my Misty, then heat embossed the adorable greeting in silver onto some more Arches cold press watercolor paper. To create the backdrop for my shaker, I taped the panel of watercolor paper to a cutting board to minimize warping. I used a combination of the Amethyst and Starry Sky sparkle pens and added touches of turquoise green Zig marker, then blended everything together using the clear sparkle pen. The watercolor paper helps to ensure that the color keeps moving until I have it where I want it. You'll notice that I'm squeezing the barrel of the clear pen quite frequently. I had just opened a brand new pen, so I was sort of priming the bristles. These pens can release too much liquid if you're not careful, so I wanted to make sure that I was getting just the right amount of liquid to blend all of my colors together to create a pretty ocean background. I also used the bristles of my clear sparkle pen to maneuver some of the color away from the embossed sentiment so that the sentiment didn't get lost in the super bright and saturated color. My best trick for getting a good seal on a shaped shaker card is to use long strips of foam adhesive in which I will cut small snips that only go through partially. These small cuts in your adhesive allow the strips of foam tape to bend easily around your shaped window, while also ensuring that there are no gaps in the foam adhesive for your shaker bits to fall out of. After I had created my backdrop and allowed it to dry for a bit, I adhered my shimmery watercolor die cuts to the aqua shaker panel using liquid adhesive. After I had placed everything on the card front with the adhesive, I flipped the panel over and gently pressed on the back to ensure that the pieces adhered to the front firmly. Pressing from the back allows an even amount of pressure to be exerted on the die cuts so that they adhere evenly. I filled my shaker with some pretty sequins from Honeybee Stamps, then removed the release paper from the adhesive and put the whole thing together. The photos really can't sufficiently capture just how sparkly this card is. I hope you've enjoyed this super sparkly shaker project using an unexpected medium. These new mermaid stamps from Ellen Hudson were just begging to be covered in sparkles and glitter, and the Spectrum Noir Sparkle pens were the perfect medium for the job. I hope this video inspires you to use your supplies in an unexpected way. Thanks for watching and have a marvelous day.